So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where the United States and China are allies. Now in real life, these two countries aren't too friendly with each other. Of course, they're not like actively aggressive and like name calling each other mostly, but they are the two largest economic powers in the world and they don't get along well. But what would happen if these two countries got over that, teamed up, and became allies? That's what we're going to be taking a look at in today's mapping/war scenario. So if you guys do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All that support is very greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and there is about there's only 3 months left. Okay, well 2023 went by really quickly, but there's only 3 months left in the year, so we got like 3 months left to get to like 28,000 more subscribers. I think we can do it. Anyway, once again, let's go ahead and jump straight into the scenario. So the United States and China are now officially allies, and they have abandoned their other allies. So the US has abandoned Europe, and China has abandoned like North Korea and some of Southeast Asia. Obviously China has more allies than just those guys, but not anymore. Now before we get to the all fighting war stuff, we do have to address some issues. The USA and Taiwan are obviously close together in real life. China and Taiwan not so much, so we have to kind of think about that. Like the United States wouldn't want China to invade Taiwan, but on the same side of things, China has a lot of influence over Central America, specifically Nicaragua, so China wouldn't want the US invading them. So there could be a little bit of a compromise here, basically saying, hey, if you let us invade Taiwan, we'll let you invade Nicaragua, and they accept that. So without proper protection from the most powerful country in the world, Taiwan is obliterated. They are annexed by China, and South Korea and Japan are getting very angry about this. They make a defensive pact together and basically say, hey, no more expansion or we're gonna do something about it. Don't know how well that's gonna go considering the US isn't allies with them anymore. But now over to Central America, where we don't even have to paint this in. We already know that Nicaragua is going to get absolutely slapped. But with the two most powerful countries in the world, yes, I said it, China over Russia, I think it's realistic enough to where we can start saying that now. Military wise, Russia has the better military, but China has the better economy. They have more influence, so I think China over Russia is canon now. So now the US and China are obvious allies. The world can see that now, and well, they're going to want to start to band together against us because this is a very unstoppable force. Number 1 and number 2 teaming up here. Number 3 and number 4 could put up a fight, Russia and India, but not many people support Russia, so Europe would not help them out in that scenario. India is not friendly with Pakistan, so yeah, Pakistan is friendly with the United States and China, so it wouldn't, I don't think it would go well, and it would most certainly turn into like a very large scale global conflict. So they're going to try appeasement. Basically, don't come near us. Please don't. The United States is going to go ahead and start to crusade the Central American countries. Now in real life, the US has no reason to expand like this. It's a docile country for the most part, unless you have oil or alleged weapons of mass destruction. But the United States goes ahead and takes over all of Panama, and they are going to, of course, annex all of these countries. So with that, the United States is now growing nicely as an empire, but they want more. Obviously, this land is nowhere near this land, but what's in between that? This land, aka Cuba and Jamaica, but Jamaica's probably fine. It is quite annoying having to go like this, you know, so why not go like this? The USA officially declares war on Cuba, and since China is now friendly with the United States, they're not going to come to the aid of Cuba, and as we know in real life, Cuba is not doing so great. It's embargoed, it's just not great. It's just the government is not very nice to their people, and I'm sure the people would have mixed reactions about the United States invading them, but I do believe that around half the population would be in support of this, only because it would free them from the communist government. So Cuba is taken out by the United States, and with that, they become a state most likely. So the United States has been expanding quite nicely. They have a nice new sphere of influence over Central America and over Northern South America. Brazil probably isn't feeling too great about this new expanding empire, since they are the second strongest country in the Western Hemisphere. Well, the second strongest in the Americas. But now it's time for China to do stuff. And well, first they're going to go ahead and just take North Korea. I don't know how that would go for them. I don't know what would happen, but it would probably go well. Anyway, going on to a more interesting country, let's go ahead and talk about Myanmar. Now, Myanmar is under an interesting scenario right now. They are in a military junta, I believe. That's been going on for quite some time now, and they're still in it. So China is going to go in there and liberate them. Yes, liberate them. Now, Myanmar is a very jungly kind of country. It would not be as easy as I'm depicting it, but who cares? They will also completely annex one of their countries. And with that, China now has access to the Bay of Bengal and also a much larger border with India, who is not liking this expansion. So what are they going to do about it? Welp, they're going to put troops on their border. This is probably the most logical thing to do because, you know, they're getting all around your border. India and Nepal are good friends. I think China, no, not, I don't know what Bhutan's doing. They might just be neutral, but India puts troops all along the border that I just did. I actually doubt they put anything in the Himalayas due to, like, you know, it being the Himalayas. But they also put some troops on the Pakistani border, more so than there already are in real life. And basically what this is doing is it's sucking out all of any of the interior troops and putting them on the outskirts, because there's a lot of enemies on the outskirts. Fortunately for India though, China does not really care about them yet, and they're gonna go after another country, this time being Thailand. Now you're gonna notice a common theme in this video, that being that these countries are gonna get rolled over multiple times, and that's because it's number 1 and number 2. I mean, these guys are like what, 50 to 150 so far, maybe even less, so they're not doing much in terms of power rankings. So China is growing nicely along the Southeast Asian border, but now, like I said earlier, the world has been pushed a little bit too much. Of course, Europe is going for the whole isolation thing. There's a bunch of countries that are all for that isolation thing. Basically every single NATO country, and then everyone on the interior. Also got to include Iceland, of course. These guys, they ain't doing anything unless you touch them, so we don't have to worry about Europe in this video. But who we do have to worry about is Russia and China. That's not China, that's India. These two are allies in real life, and unfortunately for the United States and China, they've about seen enough. Now, this is going to go pretty bad for the blue team here because it's going to backfire. First of all, Belarus declares neutrality in this because they don't want to really get on China's bad side. And India, they're about to be surrounded by not friendly countries like Pakistan. Pakistan is going to join this war on the side of both the United States and China due to their close ties with both countries, more so with China. Nepal declares neutrality, which kind of hurts India a little bit. And what's also surprising here is we have Middle Eastern countries like the Saudi Arabians start to supply the United States and China with oil, as well as the UAE. So these guys are kind of playing into the whole US-China global expansion thingy. It's mostly due to their close relations with both countries. Of course, Saudi Arabia also has close relations with Russia, but when you're looking at it, you know, you have 2 allies versus 1 ally, you're gonna go with the 2. Friends with benefits, you know. More people means better, theoretically. So the US will, of course, send troops over to this way, and they're gonna pop out about here. Now, American troops invading Siberia is about the worst thing that could happen for them. I don't wish this on anybody. So they don't really do that. Instead, they invade areas like Sakhalin, and together with China, they take on southeastern Russia. At the same time, we have China pushing into this area. Now, I know. Kashmir is very heavily defended. I know. One of the most fortified pieces of land in the world. I know. I do not care though. That's the thing. In my world, everything on this map is flat. There is no such thing as mountain unless I say otherwise, like the Himalayas. So China enters into India on multiple fronts, but the main one is over here in India. Don't know why I had that weird accent there for a second. Now, of course, we're not going to underestimate India here. They're going to immediately push into large areas of Pakistan and start to cause a lot of damage to the country. So Pakistan is going to go ahead and say, you know what? Invading Kashmir is probably not a great idea. So they're going to pull some of their troops out of there. Not all of them, but some of them. And they counter attack India over here, which they did a pretty good job in invading. They also protect their capital city by pushing back an Indian unit. But now let's talk about Russia. They are not in great situation. That's because they have to move their troops from here to here, and that is a very long way away. They are doing it, so the troops are like right here right now. And of course, they also have like local defenses over here, so it's not like they're completely bare over here, but their main forces, they're on the way. They're coming. But the issue with this, Ukraine joins the war on the side of the United States. You know who else joins? Georgia. Belarus, once again, is not going to join this war, but these guys are going to take advantage of a kind of disorganized Russia. Of course, Russia and Ukraine are already at war in real life, but that war is non-existent in this timeline, and Ukrainian troops start to push out into Russia. Now, will they actually realistically be able to do this? Probably not. Same thing with Georgia here. They're doing too much. They wouldn't be able to do this in real life. But we're under the broad assumption, the very unlikely and unrealistic assumption, that Russia is moving a mass amount of troops over towards China, and they would need to because of, you know, China being all right here in their weaker area of the country. They could easily take all their troops, push them up, and easily take over all of this Russia. And then they'd be able to march over towards Kazakhstan, and even by that time, there would be a very low amount of casualties in this war. Now, once they cross this line, that's when the real fighting starts due to all of Russia's stuff being over here. But at that point, you've already lost like 3/4 of your country. So they have to move those units over towards China, which would leave them a little bit less defended over here on the Ukrainian and Georgian borders. Once again, they're doing a little too much here, but we're under the very unrealistic and broad assumption that they moved almost all of their units over here. That leaves only local defenses, and those are not enough against entire countries like Georgia and Ukraine. So now that these troops are here, they're going to have to split up. Half of them are going to go back here and half of them are going to go back to here. Issue with that is they're outnumbered both ways. So the United States, who is sending a majority of their troops over here, and China are going to have an absolute field day taking out Siberia. Of course, they wouldn't be able to 100% invade the thing in real life due to the coldness and the vastness of the region. But once they get to the lower parts against Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan and Mongolia, that's when they're going to face a couple, more battalions than usual. But that's also where they're going to be able to take a lot of land due to the low amount of battalions. So the American and Chinese invasion of Siberia / East Russia is going extremely well, but also Ukraine and Georgia are doing what they need to do. Fast forwarding a couple weeks, we have Russia looking something like this. And the people of Russia are starting to get very not so happy with this, and they will eventually overthrow their own government and pull Russia out of the war temporarily. So what this means is that basically the red team is going to hold on to the lands that they gained, but they won't take any more due to Russia leaving the war. And now the red team can slowly focus in on India, who is going to be able to hold out for the rest of this war. Now, India is a very interesting country. There is a lot of people living right here, and even more, or not even more, but a lot on the coast as well. India has 1.4 billion people within. That's a lot of people. And very likely they could use those people to hold a very good defense here. Now, Russia's population, the largest country in the world, it's less than Bangladesh. Bangladesh is this country, very small. So them being invaded this much isn't too unlikely, whereas India has the population density to hold itself out. Now, of course, China, the United States, and Pakistan might be a little bit too much for India to hold out completely, but due to me being nice to India, I'm going to go ahead and say that they can. And with that, they're going to force peace with the red team, only giving up a small piece of land, if any. So we can go ahead now and take a look at this peace treaty between the red team and the blue team. All right, let's go ahead and break down this peace treaty. Pretty simple. Starting over here in Eastern Europe, Ukraine and Georgia both get a small amount of land. Now, I wasn't too sure what to really do with this, so I went ahead and said that they got Caucasus land. Now, I'm not too sure if they would want that. Of course, I think Ukraine would want more Black Sea access over here around the Sea of Azov. And then Georgia, no clue. Obviously, these guys are going to get their claims back, like over Crimea, over Donbass, over South Ossetia, over Abkhazia. So they have those claims back, but they also have a little bit more land. Now over here to East Asia, we have the United States getting a new territory in Siberia, as well as Sakhalin. And China will get a good portion of Eastern Russia over here. So they are now completely kicked out of the Pacific Ocean, and they now only have the Atlantic Ocean and the Arctic Ocean. So what now? The US and China, they've done it. They've taken over the world. I mean, India's not going to boss them around. Russia's not going to boss them around. Who's next? The UK and France? They're not doing anything unless they go to Europe, and that's very unlikely because they're far away from Europe. So realistically, they kind of just do whatever they want to do. No one can really stop them. It would probably take a European coalition plus Russia and India plus maybe Oceania to even stop them, and that's unlikely because cooperation between Russia and any of those other countries minus India is very unlikely. So in the future, we could likely see China taking out the rest of Southeast Asia, more than likely. They get Vietnam, they get Laos, and they get Cambodia. And with this, they gain a very large sphere of influence over Oceania, unlikely to do anything with Australia and New Zealand, unlikely to do anything with the Philippines. However, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Papua New Guinea could and will most likely fall over to China's influence. We would also see a very large increase in influence over Mongolia, who is Russian aligned, but they would probably break for China after seeing Russia get smashed in a war. As for the United States, their sphere of influence didn't adjust much. They already have a sphere of influence over all of the Americas, whereas China was like over Central Asia, like kind of Oceania, and then like Africa, and then, well, the United States is, if we're gonna do that, the US also had Western Europe, they also had Western Africa, Middle East is a little bit divided up, and then they also have Oceania. So yeah, it would change, but just it would be weird changing. It would be like a mushy kind of mending change. Anyway, I did post something on the community post the other day asking what kind of map you guys would like in videos. Option 1 was the normal white map, but then there was this option, which this isn't the exact like pigment of green that I would go with, but I was thinking about maybe changing over to like a green map, like maybe something like this. And of course, if we're gonna go ahead and change that, we also have to change the ocean color, so that would likely change to like a darker kind of blue, but like at the same time, I can't get the exact hue of it right now. I don't know, I would have to mess around with it, but it would look something like this with the ocean being more of a blue color. It looks weird when I look at it on OBS, but like when I zoom in and stuff, it looks just fine. So the zoomed out version might look a little scrunchy, but zoomed in, it looks pretty good. Preferably, I would think the green would look better. Of course, I would also have to like color shift all of like the country colors and stuff. But you guys let me know in the comments. I already did the community post, so like 70% of you guys said you want the white map. Understandable. I'll probably do the green map for thumbnails. That makes more sense, more eye-catching. But for videos, we'll most likely stay with the white unless I see like an overabundant amount of you all saying that you would rather see the green map. But yeah, that is gonna do it for today's video. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I do want to talk about something real quick. So if you didn't know, I'm in my senior year of high school right now, and it's getting to the point where I had to start to think about college, and I actually had to apply pretty soon to a couple of colleges. So before this year, at the end of my junior year, I wasn't sure if I was going to go because of YouTube. I was doing very well on YouTube then. Of course, there's a financial aspect to YouTube when you do that kind of stuff. There's a financial aspect to almost everything nowadays, but that was something I was considering, thinking that I might be able to hold myself up with that. So that's changed since then. As you all know, the channel hasn't been doing as good as it was lately. I think June was our best month ever, and then last month was our worst month ever in a couple of years maybe. So that kind of puts a weird aspect into things. It also shows you how much YouTube can fluctuate in terms of how you're doing. This slump is a pretty big slump. I don't think I've ever been in a slump this long, and it is continuously going down or averaging. So it's not very, I don't want to say it's not good, because of course I'm still doing good. It's not very hopeful in terms of me supporting myself only by doing YouTube. So I have made the decision to go to college for 4 years, and that will definitely make YouTube harder to do, but I do believe I can still do it. Now, the issue with going to college is that you're forced to stay on campus for the first year, so your freshman year, which means I would be in a dorm room with a roommate my whole first year, and unless they're cool with it, it would be kind of awkward if I did YouTube. So I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly how that is going to work. So I'm sure I'll think of something, but after my freshman year, obviously I can get my own place, and then I'll have my own like place to live, so like that's not an issue obviously, and going to school isn't going to change anything. So once I get past my freshman year of college, it's fine, but freshman year of college, that's just what I'm thinking about right now, and how I'm going to be able to do that and YouTube at the same time while having a roommate who I've never met before. I don't know, hopefully they're chill. I have a feeling they're not going to be chill, so that kind of worries me. But this is where the next part comes in. If this thing somehow, which it's impossible, but if this channel somehow blows up in the next couple of months, I probably won't go to college. Like, but it has to blow up like million of subscribers. Like that's it's impossible. Let's be realistic, it's impossible. But support is still very crucial and essential and appreciated, of course. I plan on doing YouTube for as long as I can. How long that is? Probably when I start losing passion, and so far that's not happening. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because I thought that was an important thing to say, because it's a big change that's happening for me, and of course that's going to affect the channel as well. Anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And of course, thank you to all the super fans, which include Matthew Newman, Yam, Kali Speaks Plays, Shadow Gamer Z, Deva Edits, Mr. Bonk 7, Hammer Toad 45, Patrick Clauser, Connor the Gamer, Texan Cowboy Cheese, Poland Country Ball, Yakko, Nevada Garbage Trucks, DW Cool Dude, Soviet Ball, and Serminator. Once again, thank you guys.